fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
More energy, less anger in just minutes. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched. I talk about this 5-minute rule. There's 5-minute practice on the last podcast. Just got back from a really amazing conference in Austin, Texas. It was for a marketing and sales conference. And one of the speakers was Hal Elrod. Been a massive fan of Hal for a long time. He's an author. He's a speaker. He's died multiple times. Like just a crazy story of God working in this guy's life. And he wrote the book Miracle Morning. I did a whole podcast on it, so I won't spend too much time on it. But I got to meet Hal briefly, got to meet his kind of right-hand man, and spoke to him for about 30 minutes, actually. And we were both, just talking about how the book has impacted us. And he had a really powerful story as well. And I'll talk about this kind of 5-minute rule that Hal shared that literally changed his life and probably saved his life ultimately. I will mention the Miracle Morning. I did a whole podcast on it, so I'm not going to go into it in depth, but here are the 6 steps. And the whole point of this is to wake up a little bit earlier than normal and to do these 6 practices in the morning. And this is how I've literally tricked myself into feeling way more energized every morning I do this. The mornings I don't, I can actually feel it. And so this does work. This is why I believe it's one of the top selling books of all time from a non-published author, meaning he self-published. He did not have a publisher backing him up, and it sold like 4 million copies. This book called The Miracle Morning. And these are the 6 things. It's called the Savor, meaning it's 6 steps each. The first one starts with an S, so silence. And so many people don't do this. I didn't do this forever, meaning when you wake up, sit silently, sit in your bed, lay in your bed, practice breathing, sit in a chair. A lot of times I'll go to a chair, even in the kitchen, I'll just go and just complete silence. And that means not opening your phone. That means not checking your email. That means not checking social media, which is what so many people do. It means not checking the news for sure. And he shows all the studies in the book about how this impacts you when you start your day off in silence and just a little bit of gratitude. It makes a massive, just for a few minutes. I'm not talking about for an hour, but even just a few minutes versus most people immediately. What do we do? We go to our phone. And this was a really tough one for me, but starting the day off in silence every morning, and then affirmations. So that's where we are, talking about what we're grateful for, talking about things that we're going to do. Visualization is to visualize what's going to happen that day. So this could be everything from, visualizing your day at work, or, if you're not working, what you're going to be doing that day with yourself, with your kids, grandkids, family, spouse, whatever. Really, really important. I mean, all professional athletes visualize their day and their, and whatever they're into, they're visualizing how they're going to perform that day. Exercise, even just doing push-ups, like 50 push-ups, just something. Obviously, he talks a little bit more about the power of going for at least 10 to 15 minutes, like running a mile, but some sort of exercise. And then reading, spending a little bit of time reading, and even be just 10 minutes. And I do that with the Bible every morning. And then scribing, meaning actually writing down. And I do that every single morning when I'm just writing to God all the stuff I'm grateful for, things that have happened, essentially kind of my journal. And those 6 things, that is essentially the whole book I just gave to you. From the Miracle Morning, that is an absolute game changer for your energy. It doesn't make any sense when you told me that 5 years ago. Whenever I read the book, I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but I'm telling you, it works for everyone I've met who's read it and has practiced it. Is really, really fascinating. So that's how to get more energy in your life. Now, the other thing that Hal shared at this conference was his 5-minute rule. And this is really about how to get rid of anger and really just kind of bad attitude and all the negativity that comes when we hold things in. So Hal got hit by a drunk driver. A drunk driver was going like 70 miles an hour on the wrong lane. Hal was just going home, doing his thing, not drinking. And the guy hits him head on. You know, when the fire and the paramedics got there, I mean, the car, if you saw the pictures, it was just a hot, tangled mess. I mean, they had to cut into it just to even get his body out. And for the most part, was like, all right, this guy ain't going to make it. I think he had already gone to like kind of a coma shock and was not receptive and did die multiple times throughout that car accident, in the hospital. So died, I think, flatlined 4 different times. And the doctors, this is where it was so powerful, and it really hit home. I think everyone in there was tearing up, but for me, I thought a lot about my brother Daniel in a wheelchair. And Daniel didn't have this choice; he was, born disabled. But Hal, who was, an energetic, healthy, somewhat young man at the time when this happened, he was told that he's most likely going to make it. Certainly tons of brain damage. He couldn't remember anything for, more than 10, 15 minutes. But that he was going to be disabled, that he was never going to be able to walk again. And so, can you imagine, hearing that one day you're driving home from work, and then the next day or the next thing you remember is coming out of a coma, and you're in a hospital bed and you've got no real feeling in your legs and having trouble remembering things. And they told him that he wouldn't walk again. He was in there for many, many weeks. And, they told the parents that, hey, good news is we miraculously literally saved your son. Like he died 4 times during this process and all the different procedures they had to do. And good news, he's alive, but bad news, he's never going to be able to walk again. And so Hal had been practicing this 5-minute rule, and it's 3 things. It's 1, that you put a timer for 5 minutes, and 2, you just get angry at whatever it is. So you let all that anger out, literally get ticked off, get fired up, whatever. But at the same time, start telling yourself that you can't change it. That, yeah, I am pissed off about this. I'm pissed off this drunk driver literally hit me and now has changed my life, but I can't change it. And so he started doing that over and over again. So he was getting rid of the anger and just thinking all this stuff that he couldn't do. But he's like, you know what? I can't change it. And then the third piece, and this is really the critical one, is to now choose your optimal state. And this is what people like my brother, they have a choice every day. And my brother chooses the optimal state, right? I mean, when he wakes up every day, he has a choice. He can wake up and be mad that he literally can't even get out of bed. He has to have a human person, right? Or people, because he's a heavy little son of a gun, move him, like, literally get him in a little cradle to get him into his wheelchair before he can even get out of bed. And he could choose to be mad at the world. He could be mad at God. He could be just ticked off and angry. Or he can say, man, I'm going to just crush it today. I'm going to be the best version of myself, and I'm going to be happy as can be. And that's what Hal said. He goes, I was ticked off for about 5 minutes. He's like, I literally set my alarm for 5 minutes. And I just keep saying, right, I'm ticked off. I'm never going to be able to run again. I'm never going to be able to do all this stuff. Never going to drive a car again. And but I can't change it. And I'm just going to decide to be the happiest person in a wheelchair ever. And he's like, I mean, that's pretty cool. He started looking up how many people are in wheelchairs, millions. He goes, I'm going to be the happiest person in a wheelchair. So when I die, people say he's the happiest person in a wheelchair they've ever met. He's like, that was my goal. That was my optimal state. I was like, dang, that was so powerful. And because it reminded me once again of my brother Daniel. And here's what was really wild. To kind of fast forward, he went through a lot during that process and was in a wheelchair for a long time. And then started getting some feeling in his legs. And a lot of it, he believes, was because of the optimal state. And he started doing the miracle morning practice during this time as well. And started visualizing him walking again. So that was a big part of him, is just visualizing him being able to walk again someday. And believing he could. And also thanking God for everything that happened to him. Like, all the stuff we've talked about for these past 2 years on the podcast about the power of a positive attitude. And this is not going to happen for everyone. Like people like my brother, there's only so much hoping and praying and positive you can do. But, someone like Hal, because Hal used to be able to walk. Daniel was just, he was born that way. Hal basically tricked his body. I mean, literally, as he describes it, he goes, I tricked my body into believing I could do this. And next thing you know, he's walking a little bit. And fast forward to today, once again, a guy just whatever it was, 10, 12 years ago, they said would never walk again. He just ran a 52-mile ultra marathon. That's mind-boggling. I mean, the doctors can't explain it. No one can explain it. I mean, right? I mean, from being told that you're going to have brain damage, never walk again in your entire life, to one, I mean, he's now written a second book and is a great speaker. And there was not a single time that I saw when he was on stage where he looked like he was struggling or not remembering what he was supposed to be saying. I mean, he's just super sharp and super fit, and has now completed a 52-mile ultra marathon. And he doesn't even like running. He's like, I only did it just so I could prove that I could do it. He's like, he goes, I don't ever even use the word hate. We don't let our kid use the word hate. But he's like, I hate running. It's the only thing I say the word hate with. I really do not like running. But he's like, it's part of what I've decided to do, to push my body, to push the limits, and to get me out of my comfort zone. He's like, I really, really despise running. And yet he does it. And so I just thought that was so powerful. So the 5-minute rule, to keep it real simple here: one, set your timer. So something bad happens, right? And there's been a couple of things that happened to me since then. There's something with my wife, but she upset me. And there's been some things in the business that usually just kind of tick me off, and I fester with it and I let it sit for a while. Sometimes even overnight, I go to bed angry about it. And this has been so powerful. I literally set my little timer, and I talk through it in my head. I'm not sitting there talking to a therapist. I'm just saying it in my head. Yeah, I'm ticked off this happened, but you know what? I can't change it. It's in the past. And I just keep saying I can't change it. And then I choose my optimal state. You know what? I'm going to be happy and know that we're going to learn from it. We're going to fail forward and keep moving on. And it's been so powerful to do that. I've been able to let go of some of the anger, and in turn, that's given me more energy and more positive energy and more focus to really put my attention and my heart, my love into things that are important, not some trivial thing that I honestly probably wouldn't even remember a month from now, certainly not a year from now. And so how many things in your life are you still holding on to? And some of them could be big and really, really painful, but let's face it, they're things that you can't change, right? I mean, anything in the past are things that you can't change. And that was really my big takeaway from it. He's like, I haven't met anyone, no one, not a single person who is still suffering from something in the past or angry about something, from, verbal abuse, child abuse, domestic, whatever it is, right? The car accident, right? I mean, how I think most of us would agree he has the right to be ticked off about this drunk driver who essentially killed him, right? I mean, 4 times, and, had him disabled for quite some time. He certainly has, I would think, every God-given right to be mad at this guy. He's like, I could care less about the guy. He's like, I moved on. He's like, I can't change it. That's so powerful. Those 3 words just can't change it, or I can't change it if you want to add a 4th word. I can't change it. So why let this absorb any piece or part of my mind and my body and my heart, my energy, etc.? And then choose your optimal state, just like my brother Daniel has to do every day, just like Hal had to do every day. I mean, he was disabled for quite some time. He did have to wake up and move into a wheelchair. He could not walk. And he just said, you know what? I'm going to be the happiest son of a gun that's ever been in a wheelchair. And I'm going to embrace it and know this happened for a reason. And I'm just going to say this is awesome. Even though deep down, sometimes I might not believe it. I'm going to fool my brain into believing it. And like I said, a lot of miracles happen in his book, The Miracle Morning. If you haven't read it, fascinating book. Like I said, I gave you the 6 pieces, but he goes into depth in each one and gives you kind of little rituals and kind of things that he's done to make it easy. And also a lot of case studies from people who have also done it. And he's not even an early morning person. And it was interesting. He made everyone raise their hand, like, hey, who considers himself an early morning person? It was about half of the group there. And these are all entrepreneurs and CEOs in this room. And the other half were not. They were kind of more night owls and like to sleep in. And, but was interesting, he said the biggest transformations many times are the people who aren't morning people. And, they're the ones who really see the biggest impact on this. But either way, regardless of who you are, I'm more of an early morning person and had a massive impact on my life. So, but this other one is something we can all practice every day. 5-minute rule: set your timer, get angry at it, right? Let all the anger out, but also say, I can't change it. can't change it. I can't change it. It's in the past. And then choose your optimal state. That simple. So I challenge you to do that this week. I guarantee something over the next 7 days will probably come up that probably ticks you off, and it might be even a big challenge or obstacle or something horrible that's happened. I hope it doesn't, but that it happens to all of us over time. And whatever it might be, practice it. Literally set a little timer. Or if you don't want to pull out your phone and see someone, especially if you're in the middle of an argument, have someone see you setting the timer, just look at your watch real quick and just get mad, breathe, and I can't change it. It's already happened, because it has, right? I mean, there's no way it can't already have happened. It's already happened. And then choose your optimal state. How are you going to do it? And let's just say there is an example where you found out about something that hasn't happened yet. And if there's a way you can change it, then cool, this is a different story. But if there's no way you can change it, if you know it's happening, there's nothing you could do. You know what? Can't change it. Choose the optimal state. I'm going to find a way to just be excited about this, or excited for this person, or whatever it might be. And I think you will see a massive, massive change in your life, in your happiness, in your energy, and even just your focus, to focus on what's truly important. So love you guys. Hopefully this was helpful. This little 5-minute rule for more energy and less anger. And once again, 5-minute rule, set the timer, say, I can't change it, get angry, but also say I can't change it, and then choose your optimal state. I will talk to you in the next episode. As always, email me, hit me up. Love to hear from you. Joe@saltstrong.com.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was pain.